week 62 of Visibility University. So I'm just going to make sure we don't have any students that have texted me saying they can't get in. And
I'm Nadia. I'm a Maya.
who left the volume on?
My name is Carly. I'm a
There's the monitor. The monitor's on. We know we're live. Perfect.
That's how you can prove we are not AI, because that is one of the big things coming up is all of the AI and people getting their clones and all this stuff. And I was seeing some of the work, and it is getting more and more difficult. Like, if you've been watching AI, I think it's a little bit apparent because it'll be just something slightly off that you're like, it's just not quite natural. It's almost there. It's like 99.9. But if you're watching enough, you can still kind of tell. But for the most part, people can't really tell anymore. And then it goes into the concern of what we're going to talk about on our Too Real this week. And that is about being able to be hacked using facial biometrics. So what is actually happening, and I've seen this with our own bank, about wanting to enforce like facial recognition on your phone, on your app to use the things. And it's already been hacked before they've even implemented it. Their staffing behind the scenes already know that they can take video. So video like we're doing here and mimic us through an Android backdoor and break into your own.
I've brought stories of that up before with people that I know who've been hacked, or their social medias get hacked using simply because they've joined Zoom calls and
Yeah.
whatever, and that's like 2 years ago.
And now
we're just bringing AI up because I know I get a lot of questions about people. I had one at the bar. I went to an event last night. When I first walked in, I scanned the room and I'm like, hey, there's like 1 or 2 people at the bar. So just go talk to people at the bar before I go talk to, a packed table of 5 or 6 people. And first doctor I was talking to, he's like, YouTube. He's like, I've got faceless channels. And I'm like, what's your experience with those faceless channels? Are those AI videos on those face? It's like, how did you know they were AI videos? It is like, well, the connotation I hear is faceless and YouTube, which means it's not going to be your face. And how have you come up with your product commercials or your product videos? Well, traditionally, you would either film your products being used or like a typical commercial, infomercial, or it's AI generated, right? It's just like there's only so many ways to create video for YouTube and for your other social medias. So it's either going to be humans or AI. Like, so naturally, that's my question is, how's it going for you? Have you run into any issues with your channel? So it was a fun conversations last night with doctors in different levels of their YouTube, or they don't have YouTube, but they got podcasts. But anyway, that's why we brought up AI at the start of this conversation, because naturally, most content creators out there are either looking at it, watching at it, dabbling, experimenting with it, and how does it actually affect your reach versus what's okay to use and what's not okay to use in the realm of growing your YouTube channel and growing your audience. And is it okay to use or not okay to use? So I think
we could talk about that for sure as we get started. Drop your questions in the chat. We are live. So if you have any questions about your own content, creating it, any hurdles, we're here. That's what our Ask Us Anything is open for. Drop your questions on YouTube or Facebook in the chat, and we will see them and we'll answer them. And I wanted to make or reach out to you, Yusufeni. I'm not sure if I said that right, but hello, welcome. And we've also got Eli Fishes.
Yo.
We also have a Man. Welcome to the chat. You guys are having a great morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Well, the AI thing, I think, is the most. I get it. Like everyone wants to make things simpler, right? But we're getting to this point where what I'm seeing, what can happen with the cloned content can put us at so much risk. Like, you get yourself a clone, then that clone is a really good clone. It's going to be able to hack your own devices if somebody takes it. Like, that's where we're going with what we're going to be talking about on Too Real on Monday. But I think it has to come back down that what we were learning, because one of YouTube's big, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, but he was being interviewed and talking about the authenticity
Was that
actual.
Renee? The guy
Yes,
who's been
yes.
popping
Yep.
up on the so there's actually a YouTuber, guys. Again, this is Ask Us Anything. So you got questions about your YouTube channel, drop them in the chat and we'll address them once we get to that point. But Renee Ritchie, so he went from being just a normal YouTuber to a YouTube employee, and there's been new training videos come out recently. So that's what Julie's getting to, addressing the inauthentic content, because we can see that a lot.
Exactly. And yes, please go ahead and ask us anything. I know somebody did ask us. We're specifically looking for YouTube and creating stuff. We are not American, so we will not be voting because we don't have the right to vote in America. So it's really not it doesn't really matter who, if we even believed in that. But I'm gonna rotate through. Hello, application Sadila. Is that how would you say that?
I don't know if there's any proper way to say YouTube handles, Julie.
Well, hello and welcome. And yes, go ahead, Irishman. You can ask us any type of question specifically. We can answer about
YouTube specifically. I know the graphic on the screen says Visibility University because this is about YouTube, but it's more so we want you to grow your YouTube content. Easiest way to do that is make content that we distribute everywhere. So you build all your audiences at once: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're using Restream right now, and that's how we're broadcasting to so many different social media networks. But continue.
Well, we have what is our favorite color, which is important to know. And I'd say I don't even know if I have a favorite color anymore. And again, politics. I don't have.
It doesn't matter. You know what?
The color's more important. And I'm going to say
Well,
I have no. I love all colors equally.
you realize it's first thing in the morning and coffee helps.
I haven't even finished my first cup of coffee, so don't ask us anything too going down the rabbit hole. That's for come and join us on Thursdays or Thursday nights or Monday nights. We do go down those type of holes and talk about that type of stuff as well. But going back to what is authentic and what is inauthentic, it is going to come down. It's coming down to how you, the user, watch shows. So what they were giving some examples, because I actually started watching vidIQ, was doing some research into it after this video of them giving more clarity on what inauthentic and inauthentic content is. And one of the things is that can come up even if you're not using AI, is if your content makes people emotionally distressed continuously. So there was somebody that they used as an example that had been monetized for years, like at least a decade, so 10 years. And they've recently lost monetization. But what their content is they would buy new or old electronics and then they would destroy them. And it was not pleasing. So that they would constant feedback was that was not making the viewers happy. And what was interesting is this person went into Reddit and actually talked about their channel, didn't name who they were, but they were easy enough to find. And people went, you know what? We don't like it got views. That's why they got monetized. It got hours, but it bothered people so much. The overwhelming sentiment in Reddit was that people despised seeing this person destroy the electronics. And I would say maybe 10 years ago, it didn't bother people as much when people had excess cash and didn't see it that way. Now people are like, no, like you're just wasting things. So I don't know if that also changes what.
Well, there's also a huge world in that kind of like micro niche. There's a lot of people who want rather, there's people who want to save electronics. So I think what the point is that that would not be the only type of distressing thing. I think the other story you were telling me about was like injured animals or whatever, rescuing injured animals. And YouTube's like, hey, so what's really happening is people have found there's a certain template of content, like a hook, and then the rest of the story. There's a certain templates that they can apply, and they're like, hey, I'm looking for this type of content because it sucks people in because it's distressing. And that's why YouTube's like, hey, YouTube knows people are gaming YouTube. They know that there is questions I got yesterday. Can you buy subs? Can you buy watch time? Like literally, I had
Well,
doctors.
you kind of can, but it's not going to work for you.
I had doctors at the event last night asking me specifically what our methods were for increasing. I'm like, no, we're not teaching you to do any of this stuff that your other YouTube coaches, your other YouTube courses have taught, because it's inauthentic and it's eventually going to come back and bite you, just like making video content that doesn't add any value to your viewer. If you're going on,
One of the things they did mention is that they saw statistically when people saw too much of it, they left the platform. And that was one of the big things. Is so you might have gotten views, but if people are leaving the platform, YouTube's like, well, we don't want you as a monetized partner. If you're going to create people like our clients, the customers, the viewers are going to leave after watching your content, then it defeats the purpose. They want binge-worthy content, or more so things that don't make you and leave you so unhappy that you leave the platform after watching a video, right? And a shout out to Just Beatty. Thank you for joining us.
So I'm like distressing. It's funny how YouTube can come up with labels like inauthentic, but you may not get granular details about why it's inauthentic. It'd be the same as a lot of those faceless channels, a lot of the AI video content you see, there's like screaming fruit or vegetables or whatever, and I'm just wondering if they're like, hey, we know people are gonna watch this because it's just like brain rot videos, right? Because it's like high impact, high AI polished cartoon videos, but I'm like, there's always like top volume and things screaming at you. And it's like, who would watch this stuff? I'm assuming a ton of people watch it because I get stuck in that doom scroll.
However, that doesn't mean you're going to be part of the partner program. So if your goal is to be monetized at some point or get to that monetization, they're not going to necessarily ban you. So I'm going to say AI content is not going to leave. They're not going to necessarily cut you off, but you're not going to get to be a partner in the partner program. You can make money other ways. You can sell other products using YouTube. You could, if you get a certain amount of subs, you can connect your stores and stuff like that. But they're going to not want to necessarily, though, if they're running ads, they may not want to pay you for running ads on your content, especially if it is more inauthentic and it is like, okay, which I've seen, and this is what they talk about, was somebody creating. Okay, so this was one that I even got into, was this person had made like these skeletons or these bodies that would be shipped to a different time period, right? Yeah. And then what it would live, and those have almost disappeared, but there was somebody that was doing a version of it that started selling a document on how to do it. Well, suddenly you get inundated with everybody making this similar type of content. People don't want to see it anymore. So we're kind of in this interesting era of the AI. I would say we're at the trend. It's going to have a break. We are going in where all the signs are showing that we are going to have like the bust of the AI boom right now. It is going to happen because it's really going to be the first people that were on it that master it might be okay at taking it away and continuing with it. But it's like anybody else that's following, you're not going to have as much success, because if you're following somebody else and what they've already done and they are more authentic or creating more sustenance with it, it's going to be hard for you to come in and duplicate it. And then with all of these, I get it. People want to save money, save time and money and want to do these clones.
They're not saving time with making AI videos.
No, because the idea is you're saving time and money per se by doing these AI content. But that's not, I think it's going to be harder and harder to monetize yourself if you need to prove that you added value to it. Because where we add value is being human with the creative content, and what we create and what we do and how we see things is not going to be the way AI is. So if you are going through a process where they're being promised that you get a clone and then your clone does all of your stuff and the AI does it all, but there's no human to check what you're emailing, what content you're making, what the script is, we've lost any value you added to that content. And that is one of the things that they're like, well, you're not going to necessarily be kicked off the platform. You're just not going to get monetized on YouTube for doing that. It's going to be harder to do it because you have to prove that you are adding value at some level. And so it's going to be like, I know everybody wants a shortcut, right? Like, how can I surpass actually having to plan this? How can I surpass actually doing any work?
Yes, as I heard all last night, are you sick and tired of just typing everything into Claude and getting an output? It's like, who else is doing that? It's like, all these doctors up on stage really know what everybody else.
Well, maybe there is some of these systems that are kind of working, that people are promising that can do some of these extra things, but you are paying a lot for them. And on top of them, you still have to validate the information. So like when I'm prepping some of my scripts and I'm using AI to help me, I still have to go through and read the scripts. I still have to go through and make sure it makes sense, because it still hallucinates. It doesn't matter if I have been making the same kind of script, similar layout. It knows what I want. I give it the same information. It still will have times where it just hallucinates something. It brings something back from the past or something that wasn't even relevant. And you're like, where did that come from? And if you're not going through it and going, okay, I've got to edit this. I got to make sure I know, do I like the way this is laid out? That's where we add value, right? And that is what you have. And so if you don't want AI to totally replace humans, you need to start to value people that are actually showing up, and not just the brain rot, right? But at the same time, the brain rot, I don't think they're going to be supported creating content, not on the platform of YouTube, but not for, unless they can prove stuff. Because, even vidIQ is showing somebody who had cloned themselves, but they were traveling around the world, versus somebody who cloned and was giving away medical advice, and how they could be totally different. But if people find the off-putting clone that's traveling around the world offensive, they could still have a problem,
Well,
right?
that was a fight. You know what? That's a funny thing, the travel one, because remember I told you a couple of weeks ago, somebody's like, hey, I need help, like proving my content's like legitimate on YouTube. And I'm like, what type of call? What type of, we didn't even get into the discussion of AI. And she's like, oh, it's a travel channel. And I was like, oh, you should like reach out to me so I can go look at your content, because I'm super interested to see if it's legit or AI, right? And then actually what type of, if you're having to prove the legitimacy of your channel, like what did you upload? I'm super
Well, in
curious.
fairness, I still had to do that before AI was the big thing. So when we went through the monetization, they still wanted to know what I was doing, and that proving that I was the human behind the channel to get monetized. So at some level, at some point, they're going to come back, whether you get monetized easily and they come back after the fact because somebody complains, because they do take it serious what is shown, and they might come back and go, okay, well, somebody complained that this was AI junk. How are you making it? That's a valid concern. Now you have to prove it. Maybe that person's wrong, and you've just validated yourself because you are using another person's platform. YouTube is not your platform. If you're using it, I'm going to guarantee you're probably not the creator platform.
That's like all platforms. So yes, of course, when you're making videos like this, making content and putting it on YouTube, Facebook, I tell all business owners every single day, you're using rented platforms, and it takes time and energy to put content on these platforms. And this is why you want to build as many different audiences at the same time, using the same amount of effort that you're putting in, because at any moment you could lose access to one or all of them. And this is why we want to build multiple of them. So that you can always be visible regardless, because guess what? People are going to go look you up on Google, and then, hey, your YouTube shows up, or your other, like. This is the
Eh,
whole purpose of Visibility University. Teach you how to build so that you show up on the search engines.
Exactly. So even if you do have a platform that is no longer showing your content or has, you're just more difficult to find, or maybe even have been removed off a platform, you're showing up somewhere else. Because we have not got to that, but that might be the story as we go in through our two reel of where somebody simultaneously gets, banned from every platform. We're not there yet. Thank you for that. However, it is one of those things.
Well, the one person that happened to, he went and created his own social media network, and now he's president. So
Exactly. So there you
happens.
go. So if
That's
you
the
get banned off,
extreme. That's the
that's your
extreme.
solution. Your solution when you get banned off all platforms is you better have the money to go create your own platform, because that is really the end solution you have. In the meantime, since most of us don't have that ability to there, and we are in the sign of Leo, and this specific month is about visibility. Like, it is about being visible and being seen, but it's about, well, the most of the energy is towards a collective and not so much about us individually. So if we're doing this just about ourselves, it's not supported. But if it is something for the betterment of humanity and the collective, it's going to have more umph. So if you're creating stuff to help others, that's going to be better than something that's just to help you, right? So that's also, part of what is going on in the energy right now, right? But is this collectively good, sharing this information, helping other people be seen? That's our intention. Help other people to be visible during, especially this time of going to be visible, which is not going to end for a number of years, because we're kind of in that interesting Uranus and Gemini, which brings up communication and stuff like that for, I know, another like 6 to 7 years. So we've got all this energy to be visible. So this is not about hiding behind a clone. I really feel like that is part of this learning. Part of our learning is to be okay with who we are and how inherently flawed we are as humans, but then respecting that you respect a human over being bamboozled with AI commercials everywhere. Like, I don't think there's any commercials that I see anymore with real humans. Like, I think that's almost unheard of. Oh wait, we did see one. It was somebody, my daughter, we both have followed on YouTube. She was hired. She did a cameo for a McDonald's commercial, and we know she's real. Thus far, I believe
That
that
could be her AI clone.
with another AI clone
Well, you
from
know what? That's funny.
they
You bring up,
hired, right?
no, that's funny that you bring up the commercials, because I remember visiting that production studio in Dubai, and I was like, because they were interested in YouTube. So I went there and we chatted. And I'm like, can you show me an example of all the like stuff creatives you're making? So that would have been 2025, early 2020. It would have been 2025, and I'm like, it's all the commercials. So the dairy commercials, the fruits, and like all the commercials that they were airing on Arabic TV, everything was AI.
Exactly. And so, like, we're at this point where we're so inundated. Do we even know what humans look like anymore? And I know, like, I was seeing that commercial of this AI clone that's just, look, my texture's real, and they were just kind of moving them, and they kind of like slid across the table, and I'm like, that's not really, like, it's almost there, but it's not quite
Yeah,
right.
there's just Easter eggs that give it away.
That, well, if you have been watching enough content for, like, and in fairness, we're a little bit older, so we've been watching content for a
But
long,
my camera
longer.
angle's not perfect and the lighting's not perfect, so you can tell this isn't AI.
Exactly, and that's exactly, then but when the lighting is perfect and they're too smooth and they land it and there's just not that normal clunkiness of a human, we have to become the investigators on that. But I'm going to do a shout out. Hello, Kirsten. Or Kristen Icons of Naples is in the house. Hello, welcome. It is going to be interesting to see that, but it is going to be that we are in an AI bubble. I definitely believe that, and I don't think
Ooh, you use the word bubble, AI bubble.
we are. Well, we are. We
Oh, I
are
know.
definitely in that AI bubble. All the signs show clearly, like the tech bubble, like the housing market bubble. We've had bubbles, and these signs are freaking there. And so, what's going to become more valuable is as AI becomes more regular and everybody's using it, it is going to become more valuable to be real and authentic because there's going to be less of that. So if you are building a channel where your face and you're not cloning yourself and you're showing up, I do truly believe, especially over the next coming years, that is going to have so much more value than being another cloned AI channel.
Just,
Another
just
clone.
making content is super important, and then if you can add your human element to it. I bring this up because when, like yesterday, I was chatting with doctors. It's like, hey, like your audience is the people in your circle, your past patients, all this. Like you're gonna have all these multiple different groups of people that you run into during your profession, and they love seeing the difference between videos like 10 years ago, today, and in the future, because if they're following you, they've got time invested in you as a human and a personality, and that's what they want. So yeah, it's fine to have a mix of other content in there, because it's like, oh hey, here's this product, or here's this product, here's AI, whatever, or like whatever, because people are invested in you and they want to just hear the way you tell stories, right? I went to an event yesterday because I knew there was going to be a mix of different stories, right? It's not one speaker, there's a bunch, and I'm like, some people, I'm like, hey, I know of this person, and hey, this other person wrote on the back of my first book, so I'm going to go get a photo up with the real human that wrote a real paragraph on the back of my book. And I told him about book club.
Exactly. That's coming next week. So next Tuesday we're going live. We're having our first episode of Michael's book club, human books or books written by humans for humans. That's our little slogan, right?
Nicely.
Because the reality is, like, again, that's just like another one that's just being inundated with junk, AI junk. Like it was embarrassing that I got an email from a digital marketer and it was like $40 for access to thousands of documents, and one was already pre-made books that you just put your own cover to. Like, what kind of garbage are we now having that literally how many people could buy that, put the exact same book up on Amazon with a different cover, and then you're making money? Like, you're just giving money to somebody who is so lazy that they couldn't even, like, it's not, I don't even believe it's even hard to get a chapter in a book made anymore, or your own book written. Like, there's so many ways to go about it that just seems so scammy. So, like, we really are at this epitome where there has to be this bubble that breaks, because I think there is a lot of backlash where people are tired of AI slop, whether it's a book, whether it's content.
You know why those book packs are available, right?
Well, why don't you inform us?
Because there's an easy way to game Amazon bestseller lists, which is literally do Kindle self-publish. Sorry if I'm bursting anybody's bubble out there, but this is the inside track on how to get, because we know I don't think any of my books are Amazon #1 bestseller, because I never signed up for that ego trophy of the Amazon #1 bestseller. But anyway, people do self-publishing, Kindle self-publishing, write a book, get it published. Literally, in order to, they want that ego statistic of, they want that picture. They want to take a snapshot of their book on the #1 bestsellers list that particular day, right? Because they're like, hey, it'll help me sell more books in the future, or help lift my authority, or whatever excuse they give themselves, right? All they have to do is really list that book for like 99 cents, and then run ads to it and social media stuff to it. And if they can convince enough people to buy that Kindle version for 99 cents that particular day, they'll get on the #1 bestseller list.
Even if it's only
for that particular day.
One day, right? Exactly.
So you can game all that stuff with paid ads, because people will be like, oh, hey, I know of this person, I'll go buy this book. And then you're like, it's like downloading a podcast and never listening to it.
See, this is the whole thing is, fair enough. Like, a lot of our society is gamified. Like, if we look at it, like, we have really got to this gamified reality. And now it's like, it's almost going to, I do believe, just from the energies and where we're going collectively, there's going to be a rebound where people are like, I'm tired of people not, where is the added value? Like, we're tired of things being made in China and breaking. Like, you go spend good money or, even high quality products that are now made so badly that you're lucky to get 2 years out of them, right? Like, how everything is disposable. Like, I would say that that's the same thing with this AI content or these type of books where you're not actually adding value, et cetera, et cetera.
It's
Is
electronic
really
noise.
sorry?
I said it's electronic noise.
It is, and it's a bunch of garbage. So we're just moving that. Oh, it's like a push away from materialism because you can see people being more conscious about what they're bringing in and not buying as much crap. Some people, not everybody, but let's say that trend's going on. Well, now we're just filling it with AI crap, repetitive. Everyone's doing the same thing. At what point do we start rebelling and going, well, we don't want to just have this not, like inauthentic slop crap, right? And that's going to come down to the humans. Now, I don't think AI is going to go away, but it's going to be who masters it is going to win it, and then everyone else is just going to be following, and it's going to be harder to get your
These are the bubble bursts. Anybody who's really good may stay around, and everybody else just kind of like gives up and like fades away.
exactly, because if you don't have some unique
Because if you're not
way-
constantly producing it and there's no ROI in it, if you're not generating income from it, at what point do you just walk away? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? A month?
Well, exactly. Like first off, most things that are built by humans, again, like if we go back with humans, it takes us a while to get good at learning it. So we might have a really good idea, but it might take us 100 hours to get that idea a little bit more refined. And
It's
then
always 10,000.
1,000 hours to get this part, because it usually takes 10,000 hours to really get good at anything. And even if we look at how we've been doing shows, how we've refined it, how we've gotten a little bit better, how we've fine-tuned it over each episode, right? It wasn't like we just started making the show and it was I feel like it does get more streamlined the more we have practiced, refined, figured out how to use tools, etc., right? So that is where we have to come back to coming to being human. Very rarely is anything ever instant. Anything instant is probably not real. We can't even grow food instantly. The quickest thing you can grow is sprouts, and it still takes 4 or 5 days to get sprouts on your counter, right? And so there is nothing in real life that is instant, except for maybe fallen off a cliff, and then there's an instant change in your life. But in reality, most things do not instantly change, right?
100%. And
And I
that's
think
why.
I
That's
think
why.
that's why we
Go
have to
ahead.
have human perspective, right?
Precisely. Human perspective. That's why, with coaching people, coaching creators through creating their YouTube content, it's like, okay, you're going to make your content. Let's look at it and give you tips on how to make it smoother, fix it, feedback, scripting, thumbnails, because each of our students comes to us with a different question, realistically, right? It's never the same. It's like, well, how would I do this? And it's like, well, I can come up with these ideas of how you're going to deliver that. But then, like, what were you thinking? Because we may or may not be along the same brainwave. And it's like asking somebody. I had somebody last night asking me questions. He's like, "You're not listening to the question." I'm like, I am listening to the question. I'm repeating the question back to you. I just don't think you like my answers. So
Well, or sometimes they don't understand what they're asking.
right, I'm like, I think you're fixated on I said a word and your connotations, your interpretations of the word I said, and this is what I actually mean. The context is going to be different because I'm not you. I don't live in the same city as you. I don't do the same stuff as you. So we're both using content, the word content for YouTube. I can teach you and show you what we're doing, and that may be different than what your interpretation of what I'm doing is.
Well,
But
what's
you have to watch
interesting?
what I do, and then maybe it will become clearer.
One thing that's interesting is something I recently came across, which was how many fewer words we're getting in our language, and how that makes us actually less educated because we have fewer ways to describe things. And I can see that with my daughter and ways she's trying to use words or trying to give new definitions to words, because there is not a word that we're using in our lingo anymore that would be appropriate. So it's interesting because I'm sure a lot of our miscommunication is not using these words or not understanding words. Like, I know you came across an adult young adult, but this person didn't know what the word convoluted meant. And then we're at a time where it's interesting because back, if
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
understand that word,
because I made a yes.
well,
Sorry.
I'm just going to say, let's put this in perspective of being an older generation. I would never admit to somebody I didn't know a word. I would get the dictionary out and I would look up that word and find out what it is. This new generation is like, nah, that's too much work to do that. And just literally is just talking to you and goes, I don't know what that means. Literally could have taken that same amount of time to look that up, what that word meant.
At least there's honesty. And then I was like,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
I
I'm
just
just
literally looked the word
interesting.
up and copy and pasted it. And I'm like, this is, oh yeah, because it was a social media manager.
Yes. So the
Now
reality
I
is,
remember that.
yeah, so it's just this interesting thing of communicating with humans, but our words are we're losing words, we're losing ways to describe things. Everything is getting down to emojis, which I thought it was interesting because I remember years ago going when we had our first book written by emojis, we were doomed. And that happened like back in 2010, something ridiculous. And I remember thinking we are so doomed. And I don't think we're not doomed at this point with our language.
Okay. So somebody presented me with a word yesterday at this event I was at yesterday, and their interpretation of it was different than mine. And it has, so they had brought up the word loopers, and I was like, well, I know what that is. And then he's like, well, I'm having a problem understanding what that means. So I was like, well, what do you think it means, sir? Because they were doing some doctor with peptides, and I'm like, of course the word peptides is everywhere, right? So they were describing what it meant, and I'm like, who gave you that description? And they go, the editors. I was like, and then I came back with my interpretation of what it meant, because we have Student who does a really good example of looping videos on their YouTube channel, right? I'm like, well, this is what I interpret it as. Like, why couldn't the editor just say that? I'm like, well, because the editor's in that technical mindset, and there may be technical reasons why they want to do looping videos.
Sometimes I'm going to put this out. Sometimes people use the words and like overcomplicate it so you pay more.
Precisely. And I'm just like, hey,
Because
videos that you don't realize have ended because they're like 20 seconds. And he's like,
I'm going to bring it
all
back.
it means? That's all it means?
Mike, I'm going to bring it back to you telling us about the person. What was their title? And all they did was move them to a new website.
Digital transformation.
So they've given themselves this fancy title that they do digital transformation, and all they've actually done is transferred and made you a new website. So we're looking at this thing where everything is an illusion, and then the words you're using can be used against you. And then when you actually look behind the curtains of what do you mean by that, you're like, oh, you just made me a new website? Okay, that's not as fancy as like when you're thinking, ooh, digital. I'm thinking digital transformation. I'm thinking, is my entire digital identity, business identity going to be transformed online, not just my website? So I have higher expectations than you just updating my website. But that obviously would be where I would be super unhappy investing in this person to only get a new website and be like, well, what about all my other stuff? Oh, I have to manually go and update everything else to match my new website now? Well, that didn't help me, right?
It may include a CRM.
Might. Well, it's just asking.
But blanket term for
what does it actually mean? What does it mean, right?
Blanket term for shock and awe from marketing.
Exactly. Now we did a question. I want to bring this back to
I don't know how to answer that, so
I wasn't sure if you understood the question at all.
How am I supposed to? Yes, everybody's your cybersecurity has weaknesses. What can you teach when many musicians and many products have been added? A lot of people don't like that everything out there has an extra fee. Guess what? They don't have to pay for any of this stuff. It is important to have your devices backed up. So if you're using Apple iCloud or on Google and using it's important to have your stuff backed up and documented. That is a service I provide at my main business, Don't Get Hacked. If you're probably watching on the Don't Get Hacked channel, hence this particular question. But every business owner, every musician's gonna have they're using different technology to run your life. So passwords, having
Well,
password
Linda,
are good and
my
backups are good.
suggestions would be like, because especially when everyone keeps adding an extra fee for different things, there is still, you sometimes have to hunt for them, but I would look for and support people who are giving you more inclusive packages. So if instead of like an extra fee for this, an extra fee for this, you pay one and you get everything. That doesn't always happen anymore. I get that, and there seems to be less of that kind of happening. However,
That's what we do. All of our pricing, our monthly pricing is all inclusive. Everything it's included. There's no point in having different. But that's the whole sales and marketing area. You know, you're gonna buy one product, and then they're gonna be like, hey, for extra amount, VPN and this and this and this and this and this. It's just.
well, and sometimes their products aren't even good. So then sometimes you might go with somebody and be like, well, they're giving me all these products, but did you actually test them? And you have to also wonder what their motivation is, because we are not affiliate marketers. We do not, because we will change products if the product stops working or if we're unhappy with what happens with the product. We are not somebody that's going to sell our soul to a product to make money off of it, especially if it starts being a problem to us. So I've always had a problem being somebody to be like, oh, I might get a referral bonus referring this. I'll tell people what I'm using, and some of those products work better than others. And there's a couple that I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with referring you to this because this far I've used them for this long and they've been good. But again, I'll always keep it in mind that if something changes, don't come back to me because it's outside my.
We always give you we always give you the pro and cons, right? So YouTube's great. However, if you're planning to do distressing content, faceless YouTube, I'm not going to suggest you get into those avenues. I want you as a business, as a content creator, as an author, as a speaker on stages, whatever you do, make content and build your online resume, your electronic press kit using YouTube. Perfect example of using YouTube is get all your podcasts you've been on, all your stage talks, your TEDx talks, whatever you've been on and it's been filmed, or start today with it, get that onto YouTube, because you're going to outrank after a couple months of adding your content to YouTube. You should be outranking your competition. If you have any competition, if somebody searches you on YouTube, on Google or YouTube or AI, I want your YouTube channel to pop up and say, hey, here's the best of this person.
Well, we have quite a few questions about. Yeah. Okay, well, first, that wasn't the question. This is the one I wanted to know. Here we go. So Z's will AI eat cybersecurity? We've actually brought this up because if you were following us, we talked about last week, not this past week, but last Thursday. We were talking about how AI hacked its way out of its sandbox. So they were doing some testing on an AI that wasn't supposed to have the internet access.
That was ChatGPT hacked itself out.
Oh, was that chat then?
Well, it was OpenAI.
Well, it was. Yeah, I didn't know if it was actually whatever. It was chat, whatever. And that it was able to find a loophole and somehow hacked its way out, even though it wasn't supposed to have internet access. And I said the fact that it hacked another company to get the answer because it was that motivated shows us that there is no security. And I would say definitely biometrics is not going to be secure because those can be duplicated. And there's already known ways around like facial recognition on Androids. So if you are doing that on your phone, on your banking, and you think you're going to be secure with your biometrics and your face, it's not going to be. And it is like, it does lead to this massive concern, which I do agree is, will AI eat cybersecurity? Will there be any way for us to really secure ourselves against AI? I don't know.
It's just going to be AI hacking AI. Right, so it's just going to be this whole, and for us humans to watch if we can at least record any of it. So
it's
just imagine Skynet fighting Skynet.
And it's like, which I want to be on the good Skynet, the one that's pro, like not getting rid of all the humans. Let's go.
It's whichever one you've apologized or thanked enough while you're making your props.
And so, you know what? So it's going to be interesting. I don't have an answer for that, but we have to be aware of what is happening. And the reality is, if you trust anything online, you're kind of delusional. You should expect that anything you have online can be hacked, whether it's hacked by AI, whether it's hacked by somebody else at a different place. Anything you have on online, you should just assume you can be hacked. And what your goal should be is making sure you've got a plan for when you are hacked to get back into your system as quickly as possible with the least amount of damage is probably the best way to think about it. I don't know. Is that a good, because that's what I think, Mike, from being around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, somebody else also had a question about Kali or Patriot OS.
Parrots.
Oh, sorry. There's no I, is there?
You know what? Pen testing, like it's penetration testing. You're gonna come up with your own tools and your own methodology you like to use, because realistically everything's gonna have a security flaw in it. So there must be an alarm going off. I just hear noises. No, really, like this is the fun thing about well, that's a particular don't get cybersecurity question. Everybody's gonna have their own tools that they like to use, and what's good today is gonna change tomorrow because of Moore's law, right? So it's like, hey, this AI is good, you know,
right?
and everything changes so much. Is there a better OS for pen testing? That's gonna be up to you and what you like and how you
You
like.
never know. With one updated feature, one can definitely be way better. Well, if we look at it, how much the AI is advancing that we don't even have access to, right? So the reality is, it's going to keep evolving, and so you just kind of have to stay up to date with trying different things, right? And just not, because back in the day people might have been like, I love a brand and I'm always staying with the brand. I don't think we can do that anymore. I think you have to be open to what comes up and what advancements happen with technology and then adjust.
And we're using AI to pen test our clients. Like, I don't do manual stuff anymore. I know some people love it. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to whip up this new Linux OS and do pen testing and test stuff. I got everything automated because I'm like, it's not something I like helping people. I may not certainly love testing all tools because life's too short for that stuff. But if you love it, great. You should make a YouTube channel about pen testing because that's going to add value to people who love it so much. I like less work.
Exactly.
All my stuff's automated. My clients are backed up automatically. Antivirus stuff's automatic. I just look, I'm like, okay, somebody had an issue this week and it was resolved. Whatever. Not a big concern in my life anymore. I just want to make sure people are protected and they have good passwords and good backups. And it's all documented because that's really everybody's going to get hacked. We'll put that disclaimer here. Every human's going to get hacked. Every AI is going to get hacked. Everything's hackable. So if you think it's not hackable, you're
not paying attention. You're not.
There's a flaw everywhere.
There is, exactly, and then we purposely have governments forcing flaws into software to have access to things that citizens are doing. So we also have that as well. We know this straight up that's what they're doing in Canada is they want to put these backdoors in phones so the government can at any point without a warrant find out a bunch of information about you. So so it's not even, it can be your own government wanting access to your data, right? Now, so we don't have the solution. We just be prepared that you are probably being spied on and probably being hacked, and do not give too much emotional energy to it. Have as much as you can in place so that when it does happen, you can limit the damage in your life as much as possible. Doesn't guarantee you're not going to have any, but if you can limit it by having backups, having lockdown, having the different authentications. However, because there's a couple questions here in the chat. First one.
I know, I was going to address this one because people get fixated on YouTube. And
yes, we're going to go back to that. But before we go back to that, I do want to make this that comment here. Google has also launched facial recognition. Exactly. Like, I did not trust it years and years ago. I've never put it on my iPhone. I never did. And I hear too many people that can hack family members' phones because their face looks the same. And we also have story after story of flock systems and or camera systems identifying people as wrong, yet now they are pushing it as a way that's supposedly more secure than your passwords, and it's not. So we're really in this point of where I don't know what the plan is, except for to hack every single person is obviously what they want. Is that to bring down the system? Because once you hack the entire system, you can take it down. So then you better have some gold in your pocket or some cash, because when they hack the whole system, I don't know what we're gonna do, because they've hacked the entire system, right?
Everything's hackable. And with facial, yeah, everything's going to be facial. And if you want to have a YouTube channel or a Facebook account or TikTok or any of that stuff, they're going to do a facial scan when you set up an account.
And it doesn't mean you're going to be protected. And that's going to be the thing of where you have to be multiple due diligence, that just because you have facial recognition, you still want a password. You still want to implement that they have to.
Well, I think they're just doing it to verify you're a human. Yeah.
Sorry?
I'm just saying, some of those procedures are just to verify you're a human and you're not AI or a spammer opening up an account. So
Well, that's why I think we're always going to have multiple ways of authentication, because if you're just relying on any one way, it leaves you more open. At some point, we might have to do like 5 different ways to get into your system, which still, again, by how much AI advances, doesn't mean that we're going to be protected even with that, right? But let's go back to the YouTube question. So YouTube's great, but YouTube can still learn from the falls of WeChat just to avoid the same mistakes as they've been.
And this is why we changed the name of YouTube University to Visibility University. This is not just an approach for why we come here every Saturday morning. It's not just about YouTube. We're just documenting our experience as how we got started with YouTube, things that and the continuing education we get from YouTube. But it's realistically, we're here to teach you to make your content and distribute it to as many social medias as possible, because that's visibility. You can be erased off any social media network, any platform at any time. And if you're running a business and your business relies on that particular social, I saw a post the other day in our, the community in Alberta, Canada that we're from, and they're like, why is this business not answering their phone? Blah, 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 blah. Somebody's like, oh, well, they updated their out of town this weekend on Facebook. And the person's like, well, I don't go on Facebook. Like, why can't their website be up to date? Why can't their phone number be posted on Google Maps? Why does the business only exist on Facebook? So, perfect example of why we teach to
be visible
everywhere. Because guess what? Being visible everywhere gives you if your business specifically, all those, like the Facebook, the link, all those social medias will send high authority backlinks to Google search, so you can be discovered in the future. Whole reason for this.
You don't know where your audience is going to be. There's going to be some on each platform, so you might as well be putting out your message. And like I talked about at the beginning, we are in the season of visibility. So there's not a better time to do it. But I wanted to go back to Mr. Vision, DPB. They can have my data, but not my blank. No big deal. Just plant it in disguise to prove it wrong, right? And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't want them to have my data. I don't want them to have my soul. I don't want them to really have any of it. But I do get to what you're saying. And then I have to agree with this is funny, because we've talked about this as well, about how the AI can be very racist and have a very difficult time. It's confused, right? So the facial recognition not necessarily working in China, because there is, obviously, I watch a lot of China Observer, and you can tell people look different, but the AI might have a racial blindness or a issue with certain. Not all AI is created equal, and there's different AIs have different biases as well, which is interesting.
But it would also be like, how many data points on the face are they doing in that facial recognition scan? Because we know that like 1 in every 1,000 people got the same fingerprints, or 1 in 10,000, because we were first told fingerprints were unique.
And
They're
now they're
not
not.
unique.
Yeah.
Is the iris actually unique compared to?
Probably not. I doubt there's anything really unique about us.
Is that why there's so many doppelganger? You know,
Our combination, your eye scan, your face, your fingerprint, your voice, the combination is probably unique, but are each individually unique? Probably not. So that is probably like I would say the best advancement, if you are going that way, would be multiple bio IDs, right? But then at some point then we're giving blood too, right? Like I don't need to literally have a band on taking blood samples from me on top of everything to prove that I've got the right iris, the right facial, the right fingerprint. It becomes a little bit much that we have to put so many layers of protection to protect ourselves from the AI hacking us. That's a rabbit hole there.
or you just, but that's because we're using those particular services. So stop using those services. You don't have to provide that stuff yet. So.
Well, and then, okay, so we go back, we've got some more questions here. So it's obvious, but let's talk solution of talent. That's where the theory is still applying to help society. Now, your talent is going to be something that being able to do it online and do videos is practice, right? Like anything else. If you go and public speak, from the first time you do it to after you've done it 100 times, it gets better. So your talent, if you are motivated, you will improve. But you can't improve if you're not making content, and if you're not practicing, and if you're not putting yourself out there because you're scared of getting hate comments or people judging you. Well, you're unfortunately not going to get to that improving your talent. And so then people are like, oh, well, let's cut corners. Let's do an AI clone.
And then not watch it, and then wait until you have feedback that your clone looks weird or saying the wrong words or whatever. No, you want to do the whole, like, number one thing we tell our, not probably the number one thing is make content. This is what we teach our students. I'm like, number one is make content. Number two, watch your own content back, because if you're watching your own content, then you're going to catch, like, maybe there's certain periods where you slip up or you get really nervous, or your dog's like, there's always gonna be like, okay, check this was great, this wasn't, this was great. Like, just have this mental note saying, hey, the lighting's not particularly good, or I should stop talking about one particular thing so much, right? Just because your view count, like, whatever, like, you're always watching your stuff back. You're gonna get quicker.
You're going to grow,
figure out
and improve. You're going to grow and improve. Clones aren't. Clones will just do it as looking perfect. There is no growth. And I think that's the scariest part, is that when you hide behind something that is not real, because a clone is not really you are hiding your growth, you're hiding your ability to expand. And then all I can think of is we're literally living in WALL-E. You might as well just put yourself in those little chairs that'll float you around. You can just drink your junk food. You don't even have to work out. You can just put on a digital mask so you can all look like and feel like you're thin, but you're all overweight, sitting in these hover wheelchairs. Like, we're doomed if we really don't find the value of improving and getting better, right? Because that is why we are such an amazing species, is we are adaptable. We are so adaptable. We can continue to grow. We can continue to advance. Yeah, AI can, but only because we're teaching it, right? So, like, there's a whole thing of we have to come back to really appreciating the human part, right? And the work it does take to get good at anything, and have an appreciation for anybody that does take the time to do it, not the people that cut the corners by not creating authentic information. Yeah, well, but we have lots and lots of comments, and we're coming around to the hour. But I do want to bring up this last comment here. Is that why did Anthropic stop Mythos? Is that why? Do we know anything about it? Do you know anything about that, Mike?
Government interference with, okay, I guess, because there's the AI we have access to right now. Then there's the AI being developed in the labs in America, in China, in other parts of the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows how many actual models are out there, what they can do, and what we, as the regular humans, actually have access to. Is because I'm not talking about Mythos specifically, but when Fable was announced, then it was pulled back, and then
We just
re-released.
found
It
out.
was worse, but then Kimi 3 is likely Fable's clone because I'm assuming at some point it was copied, hacked.
Well, that's what Washington is saying. So if you
So
followed her honestly,
it-
though, talked about that Washington is accusing China and one of the companies of stealing AI technology, which just looks conveniently like what the timing is that they got Fable, and but then people are going, well, did they duplicate it really that quickly? Did they get it from the chips? What is actually going on, right?
And that's why China makes their own chips and US ones aren't allowed for
Well, the US
available
ones
for
are still
export.
happening, but they're probably going to get more and more sanctions on them because they already had a whole bunch of
And
issues.
it doesn't really matter. Guess what? It's AI. It may be here today and gone tomorrow. And everybody's gonna just keep bringing up
Just like
AI,
us.
AI. And I'm
Just like
saying
humans.
build your YouTube channel authentically with your real human avatar, and don't worry about the AI. AI's good. Thumbnails, titles, descriptions, coming up with stories, because I know our brains as humans get tired and we're like, oh, more work, more work. Especially making content can seem like a challenge. But you know what? What I was telling somebody yesterday who was like, well, I don't understand when I can make content. I'm like, you got to look at your schedule, figure out where you're wasting time, where you're doom scrolling. You should, rather than be watching other people's content, you should be taking that time to develop your own. You got plenty of hours in the day to make content. Find a couple per week and just start. You can use AI to help you write stuff, but you know your world the best, whether it's sports or Pokemon card collecting or whatever the case may be. Even just the guy I was hanging out with last night, he's like, I'm an artist. And I'm like, okay, and he's like, just describing something to me. I'm like, you should be recording this stuff because these are your
Education. That is actually one of the top things that YouTube is really pushing is when you are educating people. So when you show up and you're teaching somebody something, because there's going to be somebody looking for that, right? And that is how you're going to build the quality content. And the more you show up teaching what you know, the better. And what you teach might change because what you're teaching might be really valid now, and in 6 months you're like, oh, it's already adapted, and now you're teaching how you do the new way, right? So we have to get the fact that there's constant adaptation, but teaching is a huge key to be visible as well. So when we talk about this, we want you to join us, be visible. You can always join us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on YouTube. We go live. You can come ask us your questions. I know we didn't get to everybody's questions, but thank you everybody that has commented today. And put it over to you, Mike. Why don't you tell them a little bit about our visibility system and where they can find it?
Best way to find out is go to breathewithinyoga.com to sign up to get our reminders of our show. We go live 4 times per week. So we're teaching you how to go visible by us being visible ourselves. And we have 4 different shows, which kind of overlap, but they're distinctly different, to be notified about when they go live. And to learn how to become visible, with Julie makes a wonderful visibility guide every single month, right? If you sign up for the gold membership right now, you'll get the digital download. So sign up to be on the mailing list at breathewithinyoga.com. If you want to have a deeper conversation about your channel and how to start it, fix it, grow it, whatever you need to do, then go and book a call at IamYouTubeFamous.com, because realistically, there's a lot of moving parts to the visibility engine, and we gotta have a chat to figure out what you have versus where we can take you, and you gotta make content.
And it's we want to help you get that path. We want to make that path to the lighthouse, so you're the beacon. So those that find whatever you're educating on, whatever you're selling, whatever you're teaching, whatever you're doing, they can find you because you're that lighthouse that's got the beacon out. And no matter where they go, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, X, Rumble, Substack, Facebook, wherever you're going, they're like, oh, this person's there too. And then they're like, man, this person shows up everywhere. That is the best thing, because then you're like, yes, you saw me. So make sure you join us. We are live 4 times a week, obviously every Saturday, 9 a.m. So make sure you do subscribe on your way out so you're notified when we come live. We've been doing it now, what, week 64? Is that what we're on? Something
62.
62,
I may have to go recount, but it's
62. I think that's what got the title. So do join us every Saturday. Come bring your questions. We're happy to answer those. Tomorrow we're live at 7:11 p.m. Eastern, where we do the weekly energy. We look at what is coming up during the week, the energies that are coming into play, and how they will affect us. Then Monday nights at 7, this is a great show, our 2 reels, 2 truth, and a lie. This is where we talk about technology and the things that are happening, and then we make up one story. So you try to guess which one hasn't actually happened, but it's always amazing how it's only a few weeks later we'll see that same story that I made up is coming.
I think we're not fortune tellers or future tellers, but you can just sense that we're usually ahead of the curve by a couple weeks on most things that we bring up.
And then suddenly you see the story that I said was a lie is now a true story, right? So follow us with that. It's a great show. It's on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursdays, we have our Honestly Though, which is kind of combining the idea of 2 real and our weekly energy into what is going on that day and this week and news that is relevant. So specifically this week, we were talking about the individual versus the collective. And we were talking about the stories of how they affect us, because that is the energy this week, which is interesting. So definitely go check those out. And that's 7 p.m. on Thursdays. So you can join us live and have your say, drop some messages in, because we are always here reading your comments, because we go live to practice the skill of having these interactions with you, that we're not a clone, that we're real, and that we're actually
and really asking the interpretation of words, right? Because sometimes people, words and understanding, they may have double meanings or triple meanings, and what's your interpretation of this word versus mine? Because as humans, we need to communicate to clarify exactly what our communication's about, right?
Exactly. So join our conversations. As my daughter has now decided, severely is a very important word. So she has to severely do things, which was a whole conversation about what that
First I have a spam work.
Spam and severely are very important words to my 14-year-old daughter, of where I'm like, but that's not really the right context. But she's decided it's going to work in this. When she's spam doing videos, that means she's quickly doing videos, but spam is like getting spam mail, because that's like it's quick but also a lot. And I'm like, but is it garbage? She's like, but no, right? So the words, what do you mean by your words? But on that, do make sure you subscribe on your way out. Thank you so much for joining us this week again, and we will see everybody tomorrow night for our weekly energy. Bye.
Have a great day.